Robert Ming is running for Orange County Supervisor. He knows Orange County needs fiscally responsible, common sense leadership. As two-time mayor of Laguna Niguel, he's got the leadership experience needed for the job. Endorsed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Robert supports Prop 13 and keeping property taxes low. Robert will work with Laguna Woods residents to keep the community beautiful and safe. Robert Ming, your choice for Orange County Supervisor.
Well, coming up in just a couple weeks now, well, not even a couple weeks, a little bit less than that, we have our election going on November 4th, and one of the candidates is here today, Robert Ming, and he is running for the 5th District of the Orange County Supervisor Council, and it's good to have you here today.
Great to be here, thanks.
And I had to ask him because he doesn't look like a Ming, and you were telling me it's a Swedish name, am I right?
It's Swiss, yeah.
Swiss, yeah.
It's so funny. People ask me all the time. I get Chinese newspapers and Chinese phone calls. People expect me to be Chinese, and I'm not. My mother's Colombian, my father's Canadian, Swiss, and my grandfather was from Switzerland. Yeah, it's a bunch of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Swiss Mings in the German side of the Alps. We don't know why. Yeah.
Well, you have been on the Laguna Niguel City Council for 8 years. You were mayor a couple times as well, right?
That's right, yeah. It's a wonderful city. We've run fiscally responsible budgets and take care of public safety, but really high quality of life. People are very happy, and I know my own city like the back of my hand, but this supervisor's district, it's pretty big, and so I've been getting out into communities like yours all across the 5th District, getting to know people, and it's been a lot of fun.
What's your background as far as your business background? Because I know most people who are on city councils, they have other jobs as well.
Right.
Most city councils aren't going to be paying you, enough to. That's the only thing you do.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's the real job. I'm an attorney at an investment banking firm. I structure and negotiate big technology deals.
Oh, okay.
I don't go to court. If I go to court just because I get a traffic ticket or get in trouble, and haven't had either one of those two happen lately, so. Been out of court, but yeah, it's a great chance for me to help bring people together. That's what I do. I make deals happen where people don't think other deals could happen.
So you find investors to go into tech companies, and then you write the contracts up, things like that?
I've done a little of that, but most of what I do is helping people strike deals. Like, for example, you want to buy a big software package and somebody wants to sell it, so we'll buy it, or we'll help someone sell it, or in this most recent case, we helped structure a big outsourcing contract where some of our technology employees ended up working for another company, still sitting in their same seats, but it was a really good win-win kind of a situation. That's what I try to help make.
Well, let's talk about the campaign. That's why you're here. And what are some of the key points that, if you become on the Orange County Supervisor Board, what would you like to see done? What would you like to see changed? And how do you differ yourself from your opponent?
Right. No, it's a great question. One of the biggest things that we have to work on here in Orange County is the pension issue. The public employee pensions, they were all created for good reasons, and you wanted to motivate employees to be consistent, but now we have an unfunded pension liability at the OSER's board that's about $5 billion, and it's almost the same size as the budget, $5.4 billion. And so we have a real big concern that is an unsustainable track. We've got to fix it. And I've got some really interesting ways to possibly do that will not hurt the employees, but at the same time help us get our arms around that financial exposure and let us go forward with that. So that's number one. If we don't get that under control, it's going to jeopardize our ability to do public safety and a lot of the other quality of life things that we really need to make sure we do. One other thing that we need to do at the county, we need to be able to add efficiency to what we do. And for sometimes they do the same thing that they've done for 25 years just because they've done it for 25 years. And we need to create an environment at the county where people want to work together, they want to find better ways to do things. And we can do that if we kind of change the tone up there. And the last thing is there's some very important projects in Orange County that, especially in the 5th District, we need to really move forward. The La Plata extension is important for a lot of traffic people out on the east side. The Dana Point Harbor revitalization, there's a beautiful plan that could happen there. I'd love to see that happen. And all the I-5 widenings for anybody who drives on the 5. The traffic is really bad and we need to improve it.
Speaking of traffic, there's lately been a lot of, I don't know if I want to call it concern, but a lot of confusion with the changeover in the toll roads to all cash. And I do know that all the cities are involved in one way or another with OCTA and the toll roads. And then along with that, we've heard that a possibility of the 405 being widened in parts of Orange County that may include toll lanes one day. What's your view on both of those? The toll road itself, the toll roads, I should say, and the possibility of toll lanes.
Right. No, it's very important. On the toll lanes on the 405, I was one of the first people to come out and clearly say to that board that I think with Measure M, we passed Measure M, the voters did, because they wanted more capacity on the 405. That was part of the projects, one of the designated projects. So I've always said, give the people what they paid for, and you have to build as many free lanes as you possibly can on the 405, and give them that capacity. And then, if you still need more capacity, the toll lane, the idea of toll roads in general, with financing, building a road you couldn't otherwise build by using the tolls to pay for the bonds, it makes sense, and I don't mind doing that in the future, but we've got to give them as many free lanes as we can possibly give them first. That's what they paid for. So that was the 405 toll lane issue. On the toll roads, we've had a lot of issues lately where the toll roads have gone through some transition. I'm happy to say that they are just finishing a refinancing just now that will, I think, dramatically help improve the long-term stability of the road, the 73 in particular. It's going to be solid now after this refinancing. They got some much better rates. But I think that it's very important that when you're looking at the toll road, you remember the ratepayers, because we pay those tolls. I mean, I pay those tolls, and they're expensive.
Yes, they are.
And I don't like paying those tolls. And so at the board meeting just last, and this is, you asked about distinguishing things. At our last board meeting, we voted to do a financing package that would have extended tolls for 8 years. So 8 more years of tolling that wouldn't have been on that road. And I said that as a board, we should commit to pay off those bonds early if we have surpluses. I asked the board to have a resolution that would have said, if we get surplus money, we'll pay off those tolls. That way the ratepayers won't have to pay additional years.
Right.
I couldn't get the board to agree to that, and that's the kind of concept that I would be fighting for if I got on there. I think it's critical that we remember those ratepayers and be able to do a good financing. So.
Another concern right now that I believe you would face in Laguna Niguel, and certainly the Orange County supervisors have talked about this, is with the Orange County Fire Authority. And in a nutshell, they are going through sort of a financing change in that the city of Irvine seems to have been paying more than their fair share. Irvine says it's about $35 million, and the OCFA says it's $18 million, or the other members of the board. But the real point is, if that change comes down, is that other cities, some cities may have to pay more. Other cities may actually turn around and get a rebate, so to speak, over time. What's your take on that?
Right. No, it's a big issue, and it has been a big issue. Talking about whether the fire authority can continue if Irvine pulls out, questions like that. But I do think that whole, they call it a joint powers arrangement that created the fire authority, it was necessary because of the bankruptcy and a lot of things around that time. I think it's a little outdated, and I would be looking at maybe it's time for this to be a county fire department again. It was once.
Right, it was.
And that would free our hands to be able to allocate costs the way they should be allocated among the cities. And it would make that whole issue kind of go away. You'd be able to go to Irvine and say, this is a bid for the cost of your services, and you wouldn't have to get all the cities in the county to agree to it. It works very well with the Sheriff's Department. We have contract cities that contract with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and they have been very successful. So I think that's something we should look at. I don't know what the right answer is. I can tell you that board is really big and sometimes a little hard to work with.
It is. There's a member from each member city, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see something more practical, more functional. And then the fire authority operations, they need to think about those operations and how they can best perform the services. It's been a big change. Now over 90% of the calls they get are not structural fire calls, they're medical calls.
Yes.
And so there's a way that we can add efficiency to that too. You don't necessarily have to do things the way you've always done them. You can do things a different way that saves the taxpayer money and still delivers a good service.
Okay, yeah, because I know often what they'll do is they'll roll, both a paramedic and a truck out, or an engine out, I should say. I always get confused the difference between a truck and an engine in there.
Right.
I should know that. We have them on every month. But you're right. Even though it might be just a medical call, they usually roll a couple pieces of equipment out.
Right. That's exactly right.
This, as I said at the top, the election is on November 4th. And how long have you been involved in this campaign? You went through a primary here, and as your background shows, you've been part of the city council for 8 years. So in the time that you've been campaigning here, what are some of the other points that you have seen since that time on the supervisor? What would you really, you talked about a couple things that you would change, but what about the structure of it, and about the districts, and even the fact that, they meet up in Santa Ana, as you know, and yet a lot of things happen down, and sometimes South Orange County seems to feel they might be forgotten a little bit. I've heard that before. Right.
No, it's important. It's funny you should say, because it was June 27th, I remember, because my birthday was June 30th of 2013, so a year and 16 months ago, when John Campbell announced that he wasn't going to run for Congress, which meant that Mimi Walters wasn't going to run for supervisor, which meant there was an opening here.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought it was coming at this point. I've done a lot of work with a group called the Association of California Cities, Orange County. I was the founding president, helped form it. And it was designed to help people work together and get along and try to find answers to problems. We weren't talking very well. And so ACCOC has been a great asset for Orange County, helping people talk. But it made me think, you know what, you actually can make a difference right here in Orange County if you work together. So that's what made me think, maybe this county thing might work. And I was looking at it, and then so when I heard John and Mimi and that whole musical chairs thing start happening, I thought, well, that might be interesting. And so my wife Susie and I were sitting at the computer on Friday, looking at the email on the screen, trying to decide whether to run. And I said, you know what, we don't have to do this. We can just stop right now. But she said, no, you'll be sorry for the rest of your life if you don't do it. And so we sent out that email, and by Sunday we'd raised $15,000 from friends over the internet on a holiday weekend. And that made me think, okay, we'll do this. And ever since then, I've been trying to get to know this huge district. It's 600,000 people, over 300,000 registered voters, and getting to know communities I didn't come into before, because I know my own city like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
But getting to know Laguna Woods and San Clemente and Coto de Caza and Laguna Beach, they all have their own special character.
Yes, they do.
And I love getting to know it and getting to know the people, and that's what I've been doing for 16 months is meeting new people and trying to build some bridges. And building bridges is what, when you ask what I want to do, how could I do things different? I'm a lawyer by trade, okay, and some people say, another lawyer, who needs another lawyer on the Board of Supervisors? But the truth is, you've got two litigators on there, and sometimes you end up fighting, because that's what litigators do. And I'm a deal maker. I build bridges. That's what I do. And I think that's what we need on that board right now, is we need to make progress and reach across the aisle and be able to make deals happen. We need to move forward. And that's what excites me about the job and why I think I can do it.
Is that what your 8 years on the Laguna Niguel City Council, what you're bringing, what you really learned, is how to work with the others and building those bridges?
Yeah, that's exactly right. On City Council, it's funny, I like to surround myself with people that are smart. And when I first interviewed with Sean Nelson and he endorsed me, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors right now is Sean Nelson, and when we sat, he said, I don't expect you to always vote with me, but I think you're going to understand the issues and you'll be able to work with me to find good solutions, and that's what I need. And that's what I can completely commit to him, and I will always do that. Make sure that he always knows the reasons why I'm there, and we can work on good answers together. And that's what I've been doing on the Laguna Niguel City Council. I had a very good friend of mine. We supported last cycle. Linda Lindholm and I are the two long-term incumbents who are both terming out. We supported some new candidates, and after one of the votes that didn't go 5-0, it was a split vote. One of my new council members came up to me and said, "Are we okay? Because I voted against you on that thing." I said, "Of course we're okay. I want smart people, not just people who are going to say yes," and that's what I'm looking for.
All right. Well, you can go to robertming.com, very easy to remember, to find out more about Robert and his campaign and what he sees for the future if he gets to be your Orange County Supervisor for the 5th District. Robert, pleasure to meet you.
Thanks very much.
All right. Good luck to you. We'll be right back.